Hi, everybody, and welcome to Gen Friends. I'm your host, Cheri Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and we've got a great panel with us tonight. We've got Mary Kircher-Roddy, who you see her picture there. She's having trouble with her bandwidth. So Mary is from MKR Genealogy, and she is going to try to stay on as long as she can and talk to us tonight. How are you doing, Mary?
Hiding here incognito, but I'm doing great. So I really am here. It's not just a picture, so you can hear my voice.
We can hear your voice. We're glad that you're here. We have also got with us tonight, we have got Catherine Lake Hogan, and she is from Looking for Ancestors. And we're glad that you're here tonight, too. And we can see you.
Hi, everybody.
Good to have you. And back after a long time writing her book, and her book is finally done, is Bernice Bennett. We are so glad that you're here with us tonight, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
So exciting. So exciting. Everybody, get to Amazon. Buy Bernice's book. Well, we have got two shows that we're going to try to squeeze in tonight. We're going to start with the Finding Your Roots episode 7. It was called A Laughing Matter. And it was the three comedians. It was Seth Meyers, and it was Sarah Silverman and Tig. How you guys say her last name? Say it for me. Nataro. Okay, I apologize for not saying that correctly. Anyway, they had some interesting stories. All three of them. I think they put them together in this episode, number one, because they were comedians, but number two is because they each had Jewish ancestry. And so I think that's another reason why they put the three of them together. But Catherine, you wanted to talk especially about, wasn't his Jewish ancestor, but his British ancestor. And so tell us your thoughts.
I thought it was surprising. And it looked like Seth himself was surprised that he had something other than Jewish in his family. And I was pleasantly surprised because there was a Canadian connection, even though his ancestor was not Canadian. His ancestor, Frank Weedham, was from Dorset, England, immigrated to the United States. And then during the First World War, like so many of Americans or immigrants to America from England, and same thing in Canada, immigrants from England to Canada, they joined the Canadian Expeditionary Force. And so I
didn't realize that. So I learned, that was something that I learned. I didn't realize that.
That I knew.
Well, you should. You're in Canada.
So I was really pleasantly surprised, that Seth was like really into it and didn't know these things about his grandfather. And having done some research on the Battle of Passchendaele, it was kind of like two separate battles, but like one continuous. The conditions were so bad. So for his grandfather to have survived the Second Battle of Passchendaele is pretty something amazing about that. So I just thought it was that Seth had a really good response. I thought he had a good response overall to everything that Skip was telling him about all of his ancestors, but it was nice to see that he was really interested in this particular grandfather. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's more to me than just being Jewish.
Right. And I love that they had the photo. That was I mean, it looked to me like he was tearing up. I was tearing up when they showed him the photo. I love the photos. I always love it when they show photos.
Definitely.
And so, I was tearing up when they were doing the photos. So I thought that was wonderful that they were able to get that. And I love it because no matter how long we've been researching, there's always something for us to learn, always something. And so, these shows can help us think about new records to look at, new, it's the historical information that they give us, can maybe put a light bulb in our head about our ancestors and what were they doing at that time. And, maybe I need to read this and see what my ancestors were doing. So I love that they did that. He had an ancestor we talked about that they came over from Russia. I believe his was, am I right, from Russia? And that they came through Castle Garden, and he was talking about, oh my gosh, I don't live very far from Castle Garden. I never thought, this is where my story started in the United States. And so I thought that was interesting that that clicked for him, that he's going to look at that area
Yeah, I know.
differently. He's going to look at it a lot differently than he did before, and that the original name was, see if I say this right, Trekinski, something like that. Well, no wonder he changed it to Myers when he got to the United States, But that was his first name. It was Myers Trekinski, and so then they changed it when they got here. So, and then they discovered he had a home, that he went from selling pots and pans to being able to buy a home, and then the home is still there, and it's still owned by family members.
The family, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. So hopefully he'll go find that family and say, "Give me a tour of this house," and they'll go, "Yes, you're Seth Myers. Of course we will." Anybody else off the street, they'd say no, but because it's who he is.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
They also were doing DNA matches. Like they'll do this. They'll see who else has been on the show that that he matched to. And does anybody remember who he matched to?
Yeah, what, Kevin Bacon? One degree. He made that joke. I'm like, just 1 degree now, right?
He says, I don't need no footloose. Any of that stuff. I'm 1 degree. Funny. I'm 1 degree from Kevin Bacon.
I'm 1 degree now. That's 6 degrees. Really, yeah. I thought that was funny.
That is really funny. And I wonder, do they get right off the phone and do they call, these celebrities and say, "Hey, guess what I just found out?" Or do they let the celebrities know ahead of time and say, "Your picture's going to go up because you are related"? I don't know, but that would be funny to get a phone call.
I always hope when they see that, when they get to that last page in their book and they see another celebrity that they are related to, I always hope that they're going to make a connection, make that cousin connection, send that email, make that call, or do something, at least go for coffee or something.
Sure. How fun is that? How fun is that? The second comedian was Sarah Silverman, and she was on briefly. She's a stand-up comedian. Was briefly on Saturday Night Live, but she said, "I only made it one
season." Yeah,
one season. She had a very interesting grandmother who they said was kind of abusive to the family. And she wanted to know a little bit more about her. And it turned out that she immigrated from Russia. And, they kind of I don't know if they had more to the story because they really didn't explain it, but they kind of made it sound like they felt like her emotional problems had something to do with her immigrating and being left in Russia with her mom while her dad came over here. I mean, they didn't really qualify that with why they felt that way. So I don't know if there was more, or they were just assuming. I don't know.
I don't know, because her father, it was like 7 years that he was already in America before before Sarah's grandmother and great grandmother came.
Before they came. And so so I don't,
to be left that long in Russia for 7 years without your husband, without your dad.
And they may have been, severe poverty. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, they didn't really go into too much about what their life was like in Russia. Oftentimes they do, but this time they didn't.
They really didn't.
We didn't have enough information about that.
Nope, we didn't. And then what was really funny is she really loved this grandfather, the Goldie, the one that was abusive. Her husband, she really loved him. And then they showed her his birth certificate. And on the birth certificate, she knew him as Herman Helpin. Herman Helpin.
Yeah.
On his birth certificate, it said Hyman Cohen. So you need to watch it if you want the inappropriate joke, because I'm not going to tell it. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is a G-rated Gen Friends. Anyway. So she said he changed his name when he married her grandmother.
Yeah,
Goldie. He was saying that the grandmother always wanted everything to just look correct all the time. And so she probably wanted an Americanized last name. And so she made him change the name. So they were able to get back several generations on that family of names and people that she knew nothing about. Absolutely nothing about. And it just, as genealogists, I think sometimes we look at that and go, how could you not know anything about these people? But, that's what we've been doing for a while. And there was a point in time when we knew nothing about our people either. So I'm hoping that as they, these celebrities, I hope that they will really read these things and really look at it and share the information. And I'm not sure which one it was. I think it might have been Seth Meyers. It said, I'm not sure. I might be wrong. That said, this information is no longer going to be hidden. It's not going to be lost anymore. It's going to be passed down and it's going to be found. So I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I think that's, for so many of our stories have been lost. So then we had Tig, and she's a stand-up comedian as well. And I think they were saying that she's on so like an HBO series or something. And I apologize to her. I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I didn't see the series, but apparently she was on a series.
Yeah. And so her claim to fame growing up was this portrait in her house.
Yeah.
And and the portrait, they'd say, you're related to this guy who was the mayor of New Orleans.
The first mayor?
Yeah, and I don't know if he was the first mayor. I just know he was the mayor. And it might have been. But it was kind of like, yeah, okay, he's the mayor. And she didn't know anything else about him. No other story, nothing at all. So they found some records and they found out that when he was 10, he actually was put in an orphanage because his father had died. There were 6 children. And, the mom, back then we didn't have, people to help really. If you didn't have a lot of family around or something, you were poor and you couldn't feed your kids. And that's what you did. And they said that 3 of them, at least is what he said, at least 3 of them went into that orphanage. And of course that was something that she had never even heard about. And that kind of just put, here's this portrait of this man that she had always seen and thought, oh, he's the mayor, but kind of gave him some reality, I think, in her mind of, he had this horrible time when he was a kid. He did end up going back to his mom when he was about 12. And then he became the mayor and it was in the newspapers and and he owned a fruit business or something and had all this money. And so, it was just things that she didn't know. And then the second story they told her about was her Confederate ancestor from Louisiana. Yeah. And that he had been, he fought in Virginia and West Virginia and was in some really big battles. And then he was captured and put in a prison camp. And, of course, those prison camps, no matter which side, whether they were Union or Confederate, were not good places to be. And so he ended up getting TB, and that's what he died from. And they found this information because of the widow's pension. So that was just another story from her family that she just, didn't know about. So, I thought they were good stories and they were interested in the stories about their ancestors. And she was connected to Gloria Steinem, which she thought was really, really cool. Yeah, that was the ancestor that she was connected to. So was there anything else anybody wanted to say about this episode of Finding Your Roots?
Can I say who Sarah was connected to?
Oh, wait. I've got it written down. Let me see who
I know it was. I know it was.
Oh, yeah.
I was excited.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so she's related to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And she was pretty excited about I could see the two of them going out and, making a connection there in real life,
Yeah. I just think the phone call would be really fun. Think about when somebody gets a hold of us. Doesn't have to be a famous person. Somebody calls you and says, I think I'm your cousin. Whoa!
Right.
Exactly. So I'm sure they've gotten together. What would be cool if they would video some of that and some stories about them meeting? And
I know.
Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Like a follow-up, right? Yeah. Do a follow-up. That would be cool.
Okay, Finding Your Roots. We are requesting, like they're going to listen to us. We are requesting that you do not only the follow-up shows on, how these reveals affected the rest of the family, what happened when they went to tell their children and their parents and all that, but we want to see what happens when the cousins connect. That would be really cool. Finding Your Roots, Cousins Connect. There we go. There's the show.
There we go.
All righty. We're gonna switch gears. If nobody else has any other comments to day 2. Relative race. I had to put on my bling. So, day 2, people. I'm telling you, day 1 was bad enough. Day 2, just, you know what? Just bring your Kleenex, your whole tissues, whatever you call them from wherever you're from, you need the whole box. from the beginning.
Yes.
The beginning. Did you notice they had a different song? They opened up with a whole different song. If you didn't notice,
Right.
go back.
Yes. To see that they're not having the same
They did
song
not
that
play
they
face
did.
to face on this one. They did day 1, but they didn't on day 2. But they started with a different song.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I don't know why, but it was a nice song. It was a good song. It, led up to the, the tears and the crying and all that. So day 2. I know we've all got a lot to say about day 2. So since Catherine and I have been talking a lot, let's turn this over to Bernice for a few minutes. Bernice, what do you want to say about day 2?
As I said to you before we went live, tears, emotions. I mean, just those that have not looked at it, get ready with your tissues.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I cried.
Oh, everybody was crying.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, we didn't. The day 2 hadn't even started when I started crying because Red Team, they're sitting on the porch. Maria's brother is sitting there, and what does he hand her? It was a picture that it was like a wood, the wood
Sketch.
burning,
of the
her
mother
and her mom, and tears. I'm like, guys, I haven't even left the house, and I'm crying. It's not fair.
And I was already waiting for the mother or the siblings or somebody else to walk out
to show up. Yeah,
but she did get this image of her mother, and he did it in such a loving way because he put her with her mother.
Yeah. What a little brother he has. I laughed when they were putting their suitcases in, and he's going, she's yelling at him, brother, come help me. Help me get my suitcases in.
Well, she's really the big sister.
That's right. Get yourself. That's what big sisters do.
That's
they
what
make
big
the younger
sisters
ones.
do.
Mary, were you going to say something?
I just was kind of curious about. I'm always curious about kind of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on. So there have been a lot of instances where we've seen big groups of people. I mean, in the first week and then in this week, they get to a house and there's not just one person there. There's a lot of people there. And so what kind of are the constraints that the producers are perhaps putting on the matches and saying, you can bring these people, but don't extend to this area or whatever, because I guess we're expecting because the mother didn't come out.
Right.
That makes me think that at some point we're going to wind up at mom's house. But
exactly. And yeah, I see what you're saying. And especially with Team Green, because Team Green both times have had, this massive amount of people waiting for them. This overwhelming amount of people. And so I have thought the same thing. Does this mean that they have found so many relatives for them that's like, okay, your family is here, your family is here, then your family will be here, and your family will be here.
Yeah.
Because they really, for both Marcus and Keith, both of them have had,
there's an extended clan there with, grandfather and uncles and so forth. So, I'm just kind of curious what that means for, upcoming episodes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. On day 10, we'll have to revisit that. Just like we always revisit, what the heck is that day 10 benefit? But I get ahead of myself on this episode. So, we can talk about Team Green. How wonderful for, because we were worried because we talked last week about, poor Keith. I mean, they took him in, but he didn't meet anybody. But this week, they started going through all this list of people, and I almost missed that they said grandfather. Your aunties and your cousins and your uncles and your grandfather was like, wait, go back. That was his grandfather?
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was amazing. And the fact that they said your father wants to connect with you after 15 years?
Yeah.
15 years. That and he doesn't show his emotions as much as his brother does. He's
a little more reserved. You're right.
A little bit more reserved, but you could just see it in his face. He wants to see me. And it broke my heart too that he said I saw him, at that bus stop, and I saw him and he didn't
Yeah, he looked
recognize
past
me.
me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was really, really hard.
heartbreaking.
But his uncle then kind of explained that maybe he looked past you because he didn't see you. He didn't recognize
He
you.
didn't, because it'd probably been
Yeah.
so, it'd been so long that,
Yeah.
kids grow up and you're not
Yeah.
gonna always,
Yeah.
recognize them as an adult. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be something if hopefully, and it might not, you know what? It might not be on camera
Yeah.
because he wasn't there for this. It's very possible
Right.
that he doesn't want to do it on camera. So we'll just
Right.
have to see as the I'm gonna leave Team Blue for last because I might start crying. So let's go.
Well, I want to say
Go
the
ahead. Yeah.
part that I just loved was Team Black.
Oh gosh.
That I mean, they're going to meet people,
Mhm.
but the woman says to them, "You are the first biological family
gosh.
I've ever met."
Mhm.
I mean, so and
Oh,
for that cousin, how fortunate that these two young women
right.
took the time to apply to relative race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gotten a gift
Yes.
because of the fate of these two women applying, and that's just
Absolutely.
amazing.
I agree with you, and I think at the beginning when they said, when she says, "I'm your mom I'm your cousin on your mom's side," I think for a minute they were like, because they really want to find out about their dads. But when she said to them, "You're the first biological relatives I've ever met," it took them a minute for them to realize what she was saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, it hit them, we're not just in this for us, but everybody else that we meet on this journey. It's going to be an important journey for them as well. We're helping out other people. So, yeah, that was really, really an
You know,
important moment, I think, for the show.
when I do one of my presentations, my Bagging a Life one presentation, um, one of the things I wrap up with is this isn't about me. I mean, when I first started out, I wanted to find people who maybe had a Bible or whatever,
Mhm.
and now I do believe that someone is tapping me on the shoulder and
Sure.
saying, "Go over there because there's somebody
I
that
agree.
needs this contact."
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. We're all in this together.
yeah,
I think we're
yeah.
just all in this together. And
Mm.
yeah, that was very, very poignant. The challenge was really funny. And that the challenge was they had to put together a block, and it was like they explained it was like Tetris. It looks okay on your phone or maybe on a computer, but when you get these phone blocks that you've got to, and I wouldn't have been able to do it, and they gave them 10 minutes. I'm like, there is no way on earth. I would have been my brain would have been gone. I would have been so stressed out trying to figure it out. But Red Team killed it. They got
Yeah.
it together really, really fast.
But the blue team cheated. I think they cheated. I mean, they didn't say they couldn't, but it wasn't fair to the other teams. I don't think to black and to green.
Oh, because they could see that how Red Team
Right.
put it together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us were saying whilst we were live tweeting, "What are you doing? Pay attention." The Red Team just got it because it looked to us they weren't paying that much attention to what Red Team had done. Because we were going, "What are you doing? It's right there next to you. Look at it."
I thought Red Team should have said, "Can we dismantle this before we take off?" I mean, really.
They probably didn't care. They just wanted to move on.
They wanted to move on.
Yeah.
And in case you haven't watched it, what happened was Blue Team and Red Team actually went to the same place, the same town, and so they had them do their challenge together, which is kind of funny because they're the two kind of getting on each other, and we're gonna beat you, and they're just I mean, it's all fun and games. I mean, and the texting, I'm always laughing because they're trash texting, as I call it. But they didn't this week. They were, "You've got this. You can make up for yesterday, and we love you," and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought, oh, that was so nice. Let's see what happens day 3. But
oh yes, wait till they start telling them they're going in the wrong direction.
Again, yeah, 'cause that's what they did
they did the first show.
First
Yeah.
day, the first day. Yeah. So I thought it was nice that they were being nice to each other. Red Team got to go work out when they met. They met Liz's first cousin, which I thought was really nice. And what was interesting is she had said that she was really kind of nervous about meeting anybody on her father's side, and this cousin was on her father's side. And I think after talking and looking at pictures and all that, I think she really, it was okay. She said that she's excited now to see who she's going to meet. I think this meeting this relative was really important. This was a key person to help her as she moves forward. I think she'll be okay now, because she said, I'm okay with not knowing. So I'm really okay. Maybe more of, my mom's side, but my dad's side, not so much. So, I don't know what story might be behind that she feels that way. But I really think that this first cousin was a real important first step for her. I'm glad that's who she met first. So, so they got to go work out, which I thought was good because that's what they like to do. They like to go work out. And I like that they're doing things with their relatives and getting that bonding for doing things together. I think that's really cool. And Team Black, that was the best bonding I've ever seen. Anyone want to talk about the driver's test?
It was just really a funny experience to watch them have to go through a driving test and then drive.
So it was the written and actually in the car.
In the car. It said, back up. Look out. Look, you have to look out.
And they're going, we've been driving all day. We don't want to drive again.
I'm done. I can't do this.
And when she yelled, stop,
Yeah.
she kind of sort of stopped, and Kristen, and then but see, it's not fair because her sister knew it was coming, so she could stop on a dime.
Yeah.
Right.
She knew it was coming. But they laughed and they bonded and they had so much fun, and that's the important thing. And I loved the question, what would you do? What do you do if you pass Team Blue and they're stuck on the side of the road? You just go right on past them. Do you know all that's called Dan? All this kind of stuff. It was really funny. That was cute. That was cute that they threw that in there. I thought it was really fun. So I think they had a blast bonding with this cousin, and I know she enjoyed being able to spend time with them. I guess we're going to have to get to Blue Team. No crying. Everybody got their Kleenex?
Yes.
Oh, so let's remind everybody, Demetrius is looking for information on his father. He has no idea. His mom never would really give him any information. He has no idea who his father is. And so his hopes for this journey is to find his dad. So they finally get to their relative's house and they pull up. Take it away, whomever would like to take it away. Anyone?
Well, there was a gentleman standing with his little girl. And when he met his relative, he fell to the ground. And it was so emotional.
It was emotional. And he fell to the ground because his relative said,
I'm on your father's side.
I'm a cousin on your father's side. And on top of that, this man doesn't know who his father is. So they can bond. They understand each other. They're the first people on their dad's side they've connected with. So they're saying cousins for life, and we're gonna keep this bond, and we're gonna learn together. I'm like, throw him in the car, take him with you. Let's see if you can help him too. So again, the show is helping other people and not just the teams. And I'm just loving that they're having these other connections come through. But to see this grown, tough ex-Marine on the ground weeping, and his wife, she's in tears and she's just looking at him. And it was emotional. I'm like, relative race, you are killing me. You are killing me here, sobbing and just crying. It was incredible. It was just incredible. And so they sat and they talked and they shared emotions about, how it feels to not know who your father is and not know anybody on that side. And that's what he just kept saying. You don't understand what it feels like to have a total blank on one side of your family, to know nothing. So, gosh, I hope they are able to find his dad. I mean, oh, we're all going to be a basket case if they can find his dad. Or else, yeah. Wonder if they can give us a warning. Warning, warning. two boxes of tissue for this episode. So yeah, so that was just amazing. And I keep, as I remember it, I just keep thinking about the look on his wife's face as she's watching this man that she loves have this connection and this emotion within him was amazing. So then, was there anything else you want to talk about the race part? He did have a good strategy though behind the trucks that he doesn't want to tell anybody.
Right.
The rain, because he says, I'm not telling anybody how we did so well in the rain because it's my experience. He was just riding in the wake behind the trucks. They would send all the water off the road, and then he wasn't hydroplaning. I thought that's pretty smart, because that can, they're in the South, and you can get some rain and you can get some hydroplaning off those roads. So especially if you're not used to driving it. So I just thought that was really funny that he wouldn't tell anybody. But we get to the end of the day, and we've got the conference call, which just, I think every season gets better and better, just better. And Dan gets all teary all the time. And it's real, and that's what I love. It's not the staged, okay, they're going to tell me a sad story, so I've got to pretend that it's touching me kind of thing. It's real. And I loved how he said, I wish sometimes we could just say, wow, you've all had such a great day. No strikes for today. Wouldn't that be great? And everybody, in the Twitter world's going, yes, Dan. It would be nice. Can we write this into the show, please? Have a surprise. Nobody's going home today. But I loved how they're turning their laptops around, or they're having their relatives come, and the joy that you can see on everybody else, the other team's faces. I mean, it's joy, and they're crying. Marcus is crying when he's seeing. They're all crying when they're seeing everybody else meet. And when the Team Black said, we are her first biological relatives, everybody was just like, what? And they all teared up just hearing that. So the bonds start real quickly. I mean, the trash talking, I think a lot of that is just for fun. Like, we've got, Black team says, yeah, green team, at least we've got licenses. They're just messing and playing and having a good time, because those emotions are real at the end of the day. They are real at the end of the day. How you doing over there? Picture of Mary. Do you want to say? What are your thoughts? What do you want to say?
I just I loved how Green Team was just so moved for Blue Team. I mean,
they could just really relate.
Yeah. They and I mean, yeah, they want to win, but I don't think anybody wants to win more than they want their competitors to find those people that they're trying to find.
I agree with you.
It's not about it's at the end of the day, it's not about the winning.
It really isn't. And I really do think, and we kind of talked about this last time for day one, I think it starts out that way. I think they get there and they get all pumped, and then the show becomes really real. Really real. The emotions are real.
It's like real in hours this season. In past seasons it took a few weeks for us, days for them to get there, but this time it's they're there like right away.
One of the questions I found that people ask a lot is, how many days did it take you to film Relative Race? 10. They don't stop. It's 10 days. And so all of this that we're watching is 10 days of emotions and finding family. It's real 10 days. It's not like they've spent, several days doing it and then they edit it to make it look like 10 days. It's 10 days from start to finish. It's 10 days. So, that's a lot to deal with. That's a lot of emotional. That's a lot of emotion to deal with. And even seeing the teams afterwards, that some of the teams were at Rootstack, they're still emotional about, you know, the things that they learned. It's still hard. They still haven't processed it all. And a lot of them go back and they revisit, and, you know, they keep those connections alive. So this show is real. And I think that's why so many people are finding it and loving it. It's real people, real emotions, real connections. And I really do think that that's why it's just becoming more and more popular. So
I thought it was interesting too, you know, with them doing that 10 days, boom, boom, boom. Dan doesn't know what the teams found out until they're doing that call at the end of the day. And this, you know,
right.
for day 2, you know, he's looking at Keith and he's saying, man, you know, this isn't fair. I'm not ready for this. He's all choked up. He said,
Yes.
I don't, you know,
Yes.
I need a minute to compose myself here, you know?
Exactly. And for him, it's real too. And I do think that
Yeah.
sometimes people think that that's for TV, and it's not, because when you do see him, he does a lot of live speaking and things like that and talks about the show. He chokes up as he's talking about these stories. And so the producers, you know, everybody with them, it's emotional for them as well. You know, even if they know, okay, you know what, camera on, he's meeting a cousin, you can't stand there and watch somebody go through that without getting emotional yourself. And so they bond as well, not only with the team, the other teams, but they bond with the group that's with them.
Right.
The producers and the cameramen and whoever's flying the drone, whoever's writing their blog, you know, they connect with all of them too. So it's a real family kind of show, and they you know, keep in touch with each other. And so how could you not, when you go through something like this together? How could you not? But unfortunately, he has to give a strike. Now, number 1 team is, drumroll, who wants to announce who came in first? Y'all remember? Team Black,
Yeah.
which was amazing because they got the first strike on day 1.
That's right.
And so they were able to come back and
turn it around.
And turn it around. And then Team Green gets their first strike. And and when you think about it, it's ironic because they had like what was it, 55-minute drive time?
Yeah.
What? The shortest drive time.
Yes, but you know what? So one of the comments, I think it was Black Team that was commenting, oh, it must be so nice for Green Team to have a driver.
It's
but
not.
Look what happened is they told Marcus's dad, Bishop, they told Bishop to make a turn, and he didn't make the turn.
He just didn't see it.
Turn.
Yeah. And
so, you know, having that third person, you know, he may not be judged, but, you know, sometimes they're just doing their own thing. They're not paying attention or what have you.
Right. And who's got to be so careful, because if he does something they don't tell him to do, then they automatically get a strike. And so that's got to be. And he was so frustrated they did an interview on the car. And he was like, I just needed to get out of that car. Got to be frustrating to have these two kids, you know, telling him go here, and they really
He's around the block and around the block.
And so here they have the shortest drive time, and they get a strike.
Yeah.
But I love how Dan always tells them tomorrow is another day. And all they've got to do is look at what happened to Team Black. They got the strike. I'm hoping this is going to be another one of those seasons where as many teams as possible go all the way to, you know, if they could all get to day 9, you know, so we see all their stories on camera, because I know that they're going to get, you know, all the information, but I want to see it. I don't want to hear about it later.
Yeah, we do.
I want to see it. I want to see everybody that they meet. So here's hoping that they can all get at least to day 9. Maybe something quirky will happen in the login to day 10. Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, we can always, you know, hope. But okay, day 10 benefit. Anybody's thoughts? We were absolutely wrong last year. All of our predictions, we had no idea what we were talking about. And I said, "Gonna give us any clues?" They said, "Just keep watching." That doesn't help me.
No.
So it's a box, and I said to my husband, I said, "It's rattling. It almost sounds like maybe game pieces. Could it be game pieces
It
inside?
sounds like chips or something
Or
in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
something
Well,
that they're going to have to collect?"
and
Yeah.
then they're
Mhm.
locked, so they're gonna have to probably get a key to
Key to
unlock that box.
unlock
That'll have
it.
to be one of the things that they'll have to get on day 10.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
So they're going to have to get a key, and then whatever's in there is going to be important for them to do a task or a
yeah.
challenge or whatever. So very, very interesting and very creative minds too
Yeah.
behind this show. Very, very creative minds. So
Yeah.
they've got us laughing, they've got us guessing, they've got us blubbering. Let's don't say crying. So we're just blubbering. We're crying is just no. It doesn't even get there with what's happening with this show. So on that note, does anybody else have anything they would like to say about either of the shows as we wrap this up tonight?
Can't wait for day 3.
Can't wait for day. It's the longest next day in history, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The longest wait for the next day ever. So I know some people will just binge watch it. They can't stand it. So they will just I can't. I got to watch it and see what's going on. I got to see what's going on. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for coming on and discussing the shows tonight. And Mary, I'm so glad that your tech worked and you were able to stay and join us for the whole show. At least
disembodied voice, yes.
At least we get to hear you. So Catherine and Bernice, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to have all of you on. Oh,
Okay.
there you go. Yay.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you next time on Gen Friends.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.